Welcome back to our Lagos studio where Nigeria is deciding. This is our election studio open. Now we are coming to you live with some interesting reports that within a sharp twist of fate, last night news broke about the postponement of the election. Many thought it was a rumor until confirmed by the Independent National Electoral Commission Chairman Mahmoud Yakubu at the Commission's headquarters in Abuja, that's the nation's capital, at about 2:30 a.m. this morning. 5 hours to elections. Logistics challenges the reason the Commission has given for the cancellation. Different speculations from all quarters have also come through, and joining us now is Gbola Oba to discuss a little bit about this development and what the speculations really necessarily mean.
It's good to have you, Mr. Oba.
2:40 a.m. and INEC releases a statement saying that we have the elections postponed. What do you make of this?
At about 7 p.m. yesterday evening, when reports were coming in from states like Edo and Benue about the profound logistical problems they were having, it was almost becoming imminent that if the elections were to be held today as scheduled, at least minimum of 2 states were going to be left in the lodge. So at about 9 p.m., speculations were rife that the elections could be postponed. I woke up this morning to the fact that the election has been postponed.
Apart from those speculations that built up to what has resulted in today, before now, there were people who suspected and, said INEC doesn't seem ready. In fact, certain people actually somewhat prophesied that these elections were going to be cancelled for obvious reasons. Did you buy that idea, or you probably just said, these people were being a bit too pessimistic?
We live in a country where things that work in other climes don't ordinarily work well in our climate. What is logistics? Short of cracking a joke about the fact that somebody once won a live TV reality show by just being, due to logistics. But what is logistics? Logistics is making sure that things get to where they ought to be on time. I said earlier that as at 7 p.m. yesterday, all the elections materials that would have been needed in some disparate areas of Edo State were literally still concentrated at the INEC HQ in Benin.
But do you think it was responsible for INEC to have played silent? Because all of the reports that we had that election materials hadn't yet gotten to some of these states were reports that were gathered by news agencies and news firms. And INEC hadn't come out to say, well, successfully we've covered XYZ number of states. They've played silent, and even one of the responsibilities of INEC was to have released the total number of PVCs collected and uncollected. INEC has been silent about it. So what do you make of this slow pace of communication and updates from INEC, especially when the integrity is really key this time around and questioned?
A failure is a failure. A failure is a failure, but I haven't said that. Sometimes you need to analyze things dispassionately. This is a failure. Logistical, organizational, managerial failure.
Are we expected to see this trend continue year on year? Because even in 2015, we also had postponements, but nothing has been disclosed.
No, the 2 postponements are totally different. And these 2 postponements cannot in any way, shape, or form be juxtaposed or be compared. One was as a result of security. Indeed, security chieftains supposedly got into a dark room and came out and literally forced INEC to comply with what they wanted, because it was like pointing a gun at the head of INEC, if I could. You do a personification of INEC, and they said they wouldn't want to go ahead with the elections because they wanted This is basically as a result. The two political parties are blaming INEC as we speak. And that, indeed, is good news to me. When the two major parties are blaming INEC, I'm feeling as a Nigerian that ironically, or paradoxically, is taking a failure to let me see that INEC may be, just maybe, a bit independent.
But then before the finger pointing to INEC, these political parties were pointing fingers at each other. They were saying,
it's inevitable. This is partisan politics. It happens in the best of politics.
Interesting. So let's talk about.
And we are in the age where people are usually cocooned in an echo chamber of their own voices that they like to hear. Look, the age of social media is such that most of us don't know that we're literally locked up in an echo chamber of our friends, people who hold the same ideological thing with us. So we always see the other side as those who are not even deserving of being called.
All right, let's go back to assurances that were given by INEC prior to now. There were questions asked over and over. How prepared are you? Are you sure? Are you certain that you can go on with this? These are the lapses that we've seen. This is what has happened. Are you certain? And lots of people, I've been looking at messages coming in on social media and on different platforms, and they are saying INEC had 4 years, because you don't wait to start planning an election a year or weeks to that election. So they had 4 years. Is this what we get after 4 years of planning?
I said earlier on that a failure is a failure. The only thing you learn, as the Yorubas will say, when a child falls, the child looks, at the front. When an elderly person or matured person falls, you look at the back. You want to also examine what could have. I cannot sit here and in any way, shape, or form rationalize the fact that this is a failure. Indeed, very disgraceful failure. But is it symbolic of our state of development? You and I, it's supposed to be a conundrum. I don't expect an answer.
So what lessons are we supposed to learn, especially at this point in time when we're having a sharp twist of fate? Remember that the PDP has also asked the INEC chairman to resign immediately. Is this a call that is unnecessary?
It's a bit delusional if the PDP is asking at this juncture that the INEC chief should resign. Very delusional. And I've got news for you too. The APC, because they've been refused to field candidates in Rivers and Zamfara State, also want INEC chief to resign. Something is telling me we may just be tilting in the direction of the independence of INEC, because all said and done, these parties will do what they have to do. They are partisan vehicles.
Yeah, but let's look at.
Why are you making fun of them? Because I said they're partisan.
I'm not. I don't know, but
I do the sign of the cross.
But let's talk about, because the reasons given, logistics. We have independent observers already on the ground. We have many Nigerians who are crisscrossing the country to go to their different polling units to cast their vote. There's also this school of thought that this is a strategy of sorts, it's an allegation, to dampen the morale of people, so that, because already every Nigerian is so charged up for this election and we know that the turnout was going to be great. It's a school of thought. And then all of a sudden, this has happened. A lot of people will say, oh, well, it's the Nigerian way, let's just go back home. It might affect, or will it affect, the number of people who might have to turn out for the 23rd? Do you in any way find anything rational in that school of thought?
Let me start from one of the suppositions you used in building up to your frontal question. One of the suppositions you used was like, there is a conspiracy theory. My sister will live in the age of conspiracy theory. There are people who really believe there is a cult of people even in the so-called advanced America, who really believed that people did not land on the moon, that it was shot in Hollywood. Oh, no, don't make fun of
Now,
me.
but looking at a week from now, do you think that we would likely have the elections hold? Because as at just a few hours ago,
elections
Ekiti,
must
Niger,
hold.
Taraba states did not have those materials there. And do we think 7 days is enough?
The elections must hold because we have a constitutional bar. There is a time limit to the time that the election must be held to the time that the tenure of the incumbent must end.
But is 1 week enough to do the miracle that INEC
We
has not
had
been able
this
to
space of
perform
time for
on-
INEC
on
to have
on
gotten the
said date?
distribution right, and they said everything was fine. Once
It
again,
is
they give a
natural-
date and then they might
It is
likely shift.
natural for you, gentleman and lady, to be anxiety-stricken, to be a bit perturbed. Not that I'm not perturbed too, but by Nigerian standard, I know that those election materials will get to Ekiti, will get to Taraba, will get to... Inevitably, they will get there.
Now, within this space of 1 week now, where we are expecting that the elections will hold on the 23rd and then March 9, do you also foresee, we've seen fire incidents that have raised INEC
In a particular
offices.
area of
In
the country
different
where
zones. Now,
there is an
Can I quickly land?
anti-Nigerian movement.
Can I quickly land? Now, not necessarily
it was
that.
one just. Just is not anti. I mean, I don't buy that ideology. I don't think that there's anything.
I never said you should buy it. I wasn't trying to sell it to you. I was trying to put it out there. And you know what?
But you see, that's a blanket or a generalization that doesn't suffice.
In Abia,
because there's Abia, there's just.
Before just. You must let's do.
That's why I'm saying
let's go in the chronological order of the fire incidents.
Okay, take us through.
You know, let's.
No, but if you're saying that it's in a region of the country that's anti-Nigeria, then I don't agree with you because just is not.
No, not the region anti-Nigeria where there is a movement, where there is
So what
there is
movement
a
is
political movement that is anti the concept of Nigeria. Have you ever heard of a movement called IPOP?
Is IPOP in Plateau State, please?
No. Before you get to Plateau State,
that's
I said you must go to
What
chronological.
happens in Plateau State?
Did I
How do you
say?
explain it then, Gbola?
You know what? Even in Lagos, fire could break out. Fire could break out in the studio because you know what? If I just you hope I hope not because I'm here. But you know what? I am not sitting there excusing the fact that we having incidences, happenstances, and ultimately this prima facie failure. Nobody can escape. Look, failure, the good thing about failure, I need to say at this juncture, my attitude to life is that you will do well to have prepared very well to avoid it. But if it happens, you want to look forensically at the circumstances that brought you to that juncture and how to move on. As at this juncture, Gbola Oba is not too perturbed with the integrity of INEC. I am disturbed with the fact that basic logistical conducts, some senior management officers in INEC dropped the ball.
Now, my
But
question...
overall, as a Nigerian who believes more in Nigeria than my partisan predisposition, I believe that this INEC, I can trust it a wee bit more.
But my question still remains that how do we ensure the security of these non-sensitive and sensitive materials, because there are some states that have received their complete packages, and what happens next? Within a space of 24 hours, anything can happen. Within a space of 1 week, much more can unravel. So what assurances should we be expecting this time around when we even know that INEC offices are not so safe?
It's a logical question to ask. But I'm sitting here now, I'm not a chieftain of
What do
INEC.
you expect from
As
INEC
a
now
Nigerian.
doing the needful?
I've just told you, guys, that we have a prima facie case of failure. If I were to approach it from my attitude and if I were to give a penny out there to any relevant decision-making person in INEC, I would say, you know what, failures sometimes can be good. You use it as a fillip to re-strategize, reorganize, repackage what you're doing and do it right.
Can Nigerians really be calm at this point in time?
Can Nigerians, to be honest with you, Nigerians wouldn't even become calm if the elections were to hold today.
Could we have avoided this whole situation?
Oh, yes.
Because it's some sort of an embarrassment, especially
very
to the international community.
You know what? Very embarrassing. But is it inconsistent with the general level of governance in Nigeria beyond even the incompetence that we see in the public service? Are our private entities better managed than what we've seen? You see, it's ironic. You know what? And I quite sympathize with you guys. But the truth is that we have a culture of incompetence.
But now, some would say this is a time where we should look at the leadership of Jega as well as Mahmoud Yakubu. Now, juxtaposing the approach that we are seeing.
It's too early. It's too early. Jega also had a postponement.
Is this not a Nigerian way of looking at things? Oh, well, my predecessor had 4 years or 10 years, so give me some time. Maybe when I get to 10 years, you can assess me. Is any time too short for an assessment?
It's ironic that the three of us are saying the same thing, but from different angles. I said, just a while ago, I said, we seem to have entrenched, not the evil thing, we have entrenched a culture of incompetence, failure and excuse giving. Look, what is in planning an election? Since I run a company that started from one garage and is literally not only in all the geopolitical zones of Nigeria now, but I have 400 businesses under that company and I send them items.
And you know what to expect.
My brother, from Djibouti, you could send, I send lubricants from Djibouti to Makurdi, to Maiduguri, to Sokoto. But the truth be told, even in our private organizations, once the quality assurance person or the vision setter moves his eyes, you then see the guy that performed well yesterday dropping the ball because we have a culture. You know what? 3 days ago, I went to Abuja to do a meeting. A guy I would usually call to pick me up, I had called him the day before. I called him in the morning, he wasn't picking his phone. Immediately I organized another. It was when I got to the airport that he was calling me that it was one, I don't want to mention that it was one teller. I just felt.
Well, Mr. Gbola, this just goes to show that there's a lot of ground that we need to cover before we even start any plans for an election. And you're saying that the rot is within us, not necessarily with INEC.
It's systemic.
All right.
It's idiosyncratic.
Well, we have to go. Thank you so much, Mr. Gbola Oba. He is a political analyst. Thank you for speaking with us on the issue. We'll keep you abreast with more reports as they develop. Of course, the conversation continues right after the break. Stay
and remember
with us.
to share your thoughts with us. Don't go anywhere.